Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James, aka the Architect, and with me, as always, is Skull Hunter James, aka Jordan, aka Colonel Angus Phobic.
Wait, why is my name James now? Okay, well, my name is James, everybody.
Did I call you James? I meant to call you
called me James.
Sorry, I was so worried about mispronouncing Colonel Angus that I forgot your name.
Well, my new name is James now. Welcome, everybody. And joining us today, as always, we have Joseph in the house and Charles. Hey, guys.
Hey. Thank you for having me here.
It's good. Hey, James. My name's James. Okay.
No, it is not. This has been for the worst trade deal I've ever seen. Oh my god. His name is not James. I promise. I know him. He's a great guy. James is a great guy. Fantastic guy.
It's fake news.
Alright. Trust me, there's plenty more impressions coming throughout the podcast. Don't you worry.
Oh, I'm excited.
But I want to start off on an actual, positive note. Because I don't think we have enough positivity on this podcast. We're not the podcast of positivity. Our actual
that's New Day's podcast if we have to start one.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Anyway, so as we all know, Jordan is single-handedly responsible for shutting down Google Stadia and bad-mouthing Google and make sure we don't get a Google sponsorship. But that's okay because we want to spread positivity today. So, Innersloth, the people behind Among Us. We had talked about, I believe, the very first episode Joseph was on. The Game Awards, we talked about marketing strategies that they could have. We talked about if they started selling plushies, they would make buku bucks on it. Well, last week they dropped their brand new airship map, which crashed the game for many users because nobody was able to get on it because everyone was trying to get on it. But also, later that day, they put on sale plushies officially licensed by them. And your boy got his today.
Oh, snap!
Oh,
yeah.
I want a green one.
Really cool. If you want one, they sent out a tweet not too long ago. Like the reds, the limes, and the dark greens, and I think purple maybe, are basically almost sold out.
Wow.
Yeah. So obviously we called this months ago that if they ever did this, they would make crazy amount of money. They would sell out, and that's basically what we're seeing here. I ordered mine the second they went on sale because I told you guys I would. As soon as they did it, I would. And I did. And what's actually really impressive is I think it came out last Wednesday, and I didn't even pay for extra shipping. I just paid for standard shipping, and it already got here. It literally got here today. Today is Monday the 5th, by the way, if this podcast doesn't come out on Tuesday. We were recording a little late. It was Easter. Had to spend some time with family. But how was your guys' Easter, if you guys celebrate? How was your guys' weekend, if you don't?
Joseph, how was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty good. I went to go visit the family. Had our, traditional Easter Good Friday dinner. Ate fish because apparently fish don't have souls. So,
yeah, that's
yeah.
Are you? If you don't mind me asking, never mind. I'll tell you. I'll ask it later. All right, Charles. What about you, man?
My Easter was good. My dad had to leave. My mom left this past Sunday to go to the place where my dad's working. He only's able to come home every other 10 days. And so we had a Easter dinner and everything Saturday. And I got to see my sister's new little puppy. It's this cute little furry thing that they say it's a mutt, but I don't know what it was. But she was cute as hell.
It's called an Ewok. And
this past weekend, I've been playing Outriders, and I like the game a lot and everything. But Jesus freaking Christ, the enemies of that game are freaking annoying. When you have a group of them all freaking bum rushing you at once, and it's like, what the am I supposed to do? And also, I've been freaking happy as hell because I said it from week 1, and I freaking will say it again. This company won the Wednesday Night War. Screw you, NXT. But other than that, I've been doing pretty good.
I love. At first, I thought it was going to get depressing because Charles kept trying to pronunciate that his dad's out of town, but it kept sounding like he was going to say his mom and dad split up. I was like, oh no, this is legit. And then he went on the rant about Outlanders or Outriders.
Outriders.
And then he comes back to WWE, goes off, and then just goes, yeah, but it was okay. You know, I'll consider it. It's not too bad. So that's good, man. I'm glad.
Oh, that's good. What about you, Jordan?
Oh, my weekend was busy to say the least. Didn't celebrate Easter. We usually do. But I'm an adult. I spent Easter cleaning my house and working out and doing better things for me. Got to do like 30 minutes of yoga, high intensity workout for 15, and got to finally start running again. But we didn't really celebrate Easter. I helped my family move again. Hopefully don't have to do that again. But that's really been my weekend. Finally started playing Minecraft again. I took an hour today and yesterday and played Minecraft just for me. So I'm finally playing a game for fun again. It's a weird experience, but I'm trying to balance everything out a little bit. But I don't know where James wants to go with the Outlanders or Outriders situation, but I think
that'll be in a little bit. I'll discuss what I
Okay.
did for Easter. Yeah, first off, I want to just caveat off what you said. As you know, you're a streamer, content creator, you play games all the time. So like it's starting to feel like work. So it's always good to take time and actually play a game for fun, to just for yourself, which is important. That's why like when I invite you to play games and stuff like that, you don't have to stream it or play it. Just come on, have a good time, relax.
Yeah, I think it's hard for the mental side. Like, you're working so much, and when you do something in Atlanta Field, it's like, I mentioned to Christy about Grounded, and she was like, yeah, well, let's do it. And I'm like, yeah, and I immediately put it in a streaming schedule. It wasn't even I could have fun with this. I'm going to have fun, but it's also like, it's my work. It makes more sense to put it in a schedule and trying to get it done.
Yeah, I feel like my CS:GO team, we started practicing like we had our first scrim Friday. Was it Friday? Friday, I believe it was. And yeah, because I had Monday, Thursday service. So yeah, it was Friday, had our first scrim and stuff like that. It wasn't bad at all. But like I feel that because like I used to play Counter-Strike for fun, and then I played it competitively, and then I played it for fun again, and now I'm going back in a loop where it's like it's gonna be competitive, and then I'm just afraid that like I'm gonna stop having fun with it, like when I play with you guys. But we're gonna change that. It's all good. But my Easter was pretty good. We had the family over, just me and my wife, mother-in-law, father-in-law, and then my sister-in-law and her fiance.
Nice.
Me and my wife, we made a rack of lamb for the very first time.
I've never had lamb.
Oh, so good. Very good. Marinated it for about 24 hours. It's really good. And then we made pork chops as backup because if we messed up the lamb, we wanted to make sure we had backup. So we did. As you guys know, I give up candy for Lent, and so I got one of those giant 1 pound Reese's eggs in my Easter basket for my mother-in-law. And I ate half of it that morning and immediately got sick, and now I am back off candy for at least a day.
Makes sense.
But overall, it was a great time. Everyone seemed to have a good time. So it sounds like we all had a decent time, besides maybe Jordan. Beep beep.
I mean, all in all, I did have a good time. I think mental health is a big thing, and I'm trying to. I've been emailing this one person constantly, trying to do a charity stream. Once we hit 1,000 followers on Facebook, do a 24-hour charity stream, and it's to raise awareness for mental health and stuff like that. So I've been having to kind of also step back and take care of my side too. So it's been an experience, but all in all, the weekend was fine though. Like I'm down. I was ready for this week. Like a week filled up and I have scheduled for everything. I'm just like, oh yes. As long as I can work out every day, I'm down. And I'm back on a diet. So no more good food for me. I'm dead inside.
Yeah. I feel that. Trust me, there's a reason why we went with lamb and not turkey for Easter.
Understandable.
I had ham.
See, okay, so real fast. So I was on Facebook, and there was a bunch of people having like ham, or they were having freaking lamb. But I didn't see anyone having turkey. Is there like a preference or like a guideline to follow? Like usually Thanksgiving is always a turkey, Christmas is always a ham. Like, is there an actual guideline to follow with that or no?
Yes and no. There's cultural norms and then there's preference. Okay. So the cultural norm for people who aren't on special diets or anything like that is turkey, Thanksgiving, Christmas ham. And then Easter kind of is really up to you because I've had chicken, I've had turkey. I try to stay away from ham. I'm not a big ham person.
No.
I'm
Well,
kind of a
Easter is the one holiday in the year. I mean, I think it happens sometime in Christmas too, where the norm is to not eat something. Good Friday, you're not supposed to eat meat at all, which alludes to what I was saying earlier about like, well, we eat fish, which again is like, well, I mean, they're both living creatures, so I'm not exactly sure like why fish didn't get a pass and all the other living creatures did. So that's always been a little puzzling to me. But that's the tradition. There is not to eat the meat.
Okay.
Yeah, after the show, I can give you the biblical reason as to why that
Dude,
is.
please
But
do.
I'm looking forward to it.
Like,
Alright.
I'm excited to hear that.
My family usually just has the same things. Like every holiday, the way we can just make something that we don't normally have, like every other day. And when my family makes stuff, they can go usually pretty hard on that shit. They're not too crazy. But
My family's the exact same way. Like, my mom will use the excuse to be like, "Who wants a 20-pound lasagna?" And I was like, "Mom, yes, but
yes, I am an orange cat. I hate Mondays, and I have a friend named John. Anyway, so as soon as my Discord opens up on my phone where I have all my links and sources, we can talk about that. But so since we're still on the food segment of this Go Hunter podcast, Jordan, I know you're on a diet, so this might tickle your fancy.
Okay.
But this is obviously for everyone. So me and my wife, we made gnocchi with a vodka sauce, and it was freaking fantastic. For those of you that don't know what a gnocchi is, a gnocchi, GNOCCI, yeah, gnocchi. It's like a pasta, but it's made from a potato dough instead, and they're like little balls. And then we mix it with a vodka sauce. We boiled them, and then we put in a vodka sauce, baked it in that. It was muy buenísimo.
It's Jordan. When you hear the word vodka sauce, I think you're picturing maybe a little bit too much vodka and maybe like not enough sauce. I'm looking at your face, and it's like, well, hang on a second, what is going on here?
Imagine like a tangy orange marinara sauce.
Whoa,
Like a little
that
sweet.
sounds good. Like, it really sounds good. But first, I was thinking you usually would make. I was thinking like a lamb sauce, and some people usually use like wine to make it, and so that's what kind of went to my mind. I'm like, what? Why did he just substitute vodka in it?
I was just thinking they were just doing vodka shots with making food.
La da 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 da.
I'm more of a mixed cocktail. See, okay, so tangent. Okay,
here's the alcohol.
here's the alcohol segment hosted by the architect. So, first off, stop giving things genders that don't need genders. I have opinions on things, but like drinks don't need genders. I love what's typically known as quote unquote girly drinks. The fruity cocktails that actually taste good, that is my jam. I will not, if you ever catch me at a bar, I promise you I'm not drinking the draft or the house local beer. I am drinking the strawberry mojito or the Mai Tai or whatever. That is me.
Hey guys, this podcast is brought to you by Anchor. Have you heard of it? If you haven't, let me tell you guys. Anchor is an all-in-one platform to make your podcast. They have everything set up just for you. They've helped us out so many times, and they are the ones we are using to this day. Guys, Anchor has all the creative tools you need to get your podcast started, from your phone to your PC. You name it, they got it. And you can make money immediately with no minimum listenership needed. That sounds like a pretty good deal, but now you still have distribution. No, you don't. Anchor takes care of that for you. You could be heard on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and so many more. I don't know what you're waiting for. It's all in one platform made just for you. Anchor makes it easy. Jordan, where do I find this? Where do I go? Let me tell you. You can go to anchor.fm or download the Anchor app. That is Anchor, ANCHOR.FM, and download the Anchor app today. Thank you, Anchor, for sponsoring the podcast.
All right, so obviously I'm not gonna be able to see you guys for a second. All right, so my phone is being stupid. So we have some good news.
Okay.
In the gaming world, actually. We went over the Among Us updates and all that. Basically, if you missed it before our food tangent, they have the new map update and it crashed on every platform that you can play the game on because so many people are trying to get on it. But this is actually good news for all you Call of Duty players out there. So one major complaint that people have had with Call of Duty, other than everything, has been the file sizes that you need to either download the game or updates, or it's crazy. I tried to download Warzone the other day. It was like an 80 gig download, and I could do it, but I wasn't going to sit around and wait for an 80 gig download. So I said,
Yeah, you'd rather just go fight a real war.
yeah, I'd rather re-enlist in the actual Marine Corps for a second time and then do my 4 years and then come back and then maybe we'll try it again. But so it's an 80 gig download. Well, they have a new update coming out that's supposed to shrink the download size of not only Warzone but the Modern Warfare and Cold War downloads. So in the base game downloads, it's supposed to take up to 10 to 15 gigs off the download, which would be nice. They're shrinking file sizes, which is wonderful. And it makes you think, why didn't they do this before? And then with Warzone, the free-to-play battle royale that everyone can play on every platform, it is taking 10 gigs off the download, which 70 gigs is still a big download, but that between 70 and 80, that's still a big difference. So we'll see what they do from there, but that should hopefully get people to get off Activision's back for a little bit. But what do you guys think? Why do you think they're coming out with this now? Do you think it's just something they recently discovered they could do? Or do you think that this is maybe 3D chess by Activision? Whereas if they have massive download sizes, that people will only be able to play their game and it'll stop them from playing anything else. What do you guys think's going on here?
Okay, well, I don't think the last part is what's going on, because I mean, no one's gonna try to do that. But I think it's something that they just found out that they could do, because think about it, they went from 20 gigs and they slowly started upping the amount. So first they went from about 10 gigs with the Call of Duty for the Xbox 360. So like Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3 was in the 30, and then Black Ops 4 was way in the 50s because you had Blackout, all the zombies and stuff like that. And then Warzone came, and that went up. It was 100 gigabyte download, I'm pretty sure, at one time. Especially when they started releasing more content to it, more game modes, they really upped it. So I think it's something that they found out that they could do. I don't think they're trying to roll your console, because when it's all said and done, 100 gigabytes versus the terabytes you can buy for like 20, 50 bucks. I don't think they're trying to conquer where you can only play one game. But I do see the game being higher in demand, because you don't have too many insane glitches in the game to make people just want to go, I'm done. I'm walking away. I'm not playing this game anymore. So, I mean, maybe it's to stop all that, but the big question is, do you think we're going to be seeing any repercussions from this? Like, do you think there's going to be more maps with glitches inside of it? Or if you shoot someone point blank, is it going to show you shot through them? Or is it going to show the bullets bounces off him like Iron Man?
I'll let these two talk before I give.
One thing I always wondered about is how much of that data are just assets that are maybe cycled out. For instance, if it's, I'm remembering more Fortnite, where they would cycle assets out every 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And so a weapon would be downloaded, there'd be sound effects for it, and then I would go get a cup of coffee, come back, realize that coffee is now a euphemism, so I'm going to have to say something else next time. And then they've already switched it. And so I would wonder, well, okay, are they just going to delete the assets and then have me re-download later? Or am I just going to store it if they choose to then bring those particular weapons or maps or sound effects or whatever it is back into accessibility? So that what I didn't think about is the stability. If it turns out that this bites them in the ass, and now all of a sudden there's all these additional glitches, that's probably the first time I realized just how you might as well just have the large file size and just have a stable gameplay experience. Because what you're saying is, like, gigabytes right now, they still seem to be intimidating when there's a lot of them, but we're continuously moving forward. Mm-hmm. We're on to terabytes now. If I asked anybody for advice on how to build a computer, including Jordan, who I did ask, a terabyte is now the default. You got to have one. Yeah. So, I think it's all. I believe this is more of an issue for consoles than PC. I think because in consoles you do
Yeah.
run into the limitations a lot sooner, and you do have to respect that people maybe don't have the budget on consoles that they do on PC.
Yeah. Do you have anything, Charles, to add to that?
Well, I have whenever I have the money, I just buy a hard drive. Since I have a lot of games, mostly because my brother keeps downloading random crap that I make him wish he wouldn't. If he can get his own Xbox money since he's 16, he can freaking go get a job or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I missed the
I
core
don't know.
modes.
Just with Call of Duty lately these days, they just keep getting ridiculously bigger every year, and it's like, what the heck happened when like we had freaking games like COD 4, Black Ops 2, and Black Ops 2 wasn't even that big, but it was still kind of a big game. Like the first two Modern Warfares aren't even that big. I think we installed Modern Warfare 2 to see if people were still playing that game, and it only took like a few minutes to download, and didn't even take up that much space. I did find a game, but it was like freaking. I think there was hackers in it. I was searching for a team deathmatch, and I ended up somehow getting into a search and destroy game. That's how I knew. I was like, "Yep, there's a hacker in this game. I'm out."
Yeah, just some food for thought on, say, like a Sega Genesis cartridge. I can't tell you how many megabytes they had, but I can tell you that it was basically megabytes.
Mhm.
The most of that storage was music. I remember reading this a while ago, so feel free to fact check me on this one. But like, they had to devote half the cartridge to the Sega at the beginning. So to this day, even just looking at the content that we have, audio content, especially in order to be high fidelity, takes a massive amount of data storage. For video content, I don't know exactly what's the relationship between how much storage a video file could take versus how that might equate to a video game. I mean, there's visuals, but that part I'm not so clear on. But a lot of it is just assets that have to be at a certain fidelity because the competition to make the game sound better, sound clear, and also sound realistic while you're at it.
Yeah. So, two things that really take up space on, especially cartridges or disc when we evolved into disc, was, like you said, the audio. That was correct, but also the cinematics, like cutscenes, stuff like that. Because, like, if you notice, like even in the older games where they had cutscenes, like they was still better looking than the actual gameplay, whether it was miles better or not. It still took up a lot because that's not. It's just the way they had to build it. But also, when it comes to actually shrinking the game size down, Joseph brought up a good point. It could be assets that maybe aren't necessarily used. That kind of falls into the point where I'm about to make. When you're coding something, mind you, I haven't coded anything in a long time, so things might be different now. But when you make something and it's your original product, you add what's called junk code into it to basically prevent people from being able to take it, steal it, whatever. You know what I mean? There's that. So, and the more lines you take up, the more space it takes. Simple math. But also another thing, like a simple fix for Warzone, hypothetically, is everything you're worried about what's inside the map. Not much that goes up outside the map. So a lot of games are starting to do it where even at map parts that are inaccessible, they add a ton of assets there to make it look nice.
Yeah.
Because that's what this tree looks nice. And so you do that, but it takes up a lot of space. So what people start doing is, like, for skyboxes and stuff like that, there's nothing wrong with going back to a PNG. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I'm going to be it's not that you can't even fly into the sky, like get high into the sky where it'd be noticeable anyway. You know what I mean? So I understand the point of having assets outside the map, but if it's going to make me have to download a game or an 80 gig game, I'd be perfectly okay with having a few outside assets where you can actually see outside the map. But once you start going outside the map where nobody can see, there's no need for that to be actual assets. So that could be another thing that takes up space.
It's not nearly as useful because it's inaccessible for one, but for immersion, you will lose a lot of that if all of a sudden you get to the edge of the map and then it's just like a fence and then like a bed of nothingness. Like if I could just say, like with Breath of the Wild, I remember they had that issue because I would get to like the edge of the map and there would be a huge cliff that I couldn't cross, and then on the other side of the cliff is just like flat terrain, and I think, okay, well
that's because the Earth is
the edge of Hyrule. Oh man, I have got to remember to make a tinfoil hat to wear. I gotta remind myself to make
add
one.
on to what James was talking about, if that's all right.
What's up? Go for it, dude.
I was just gonna say, I remember hearing or reading about something. Part of the reason why it takes video game developers to make video games so long, in some case, except in Call of Duty's case, because somehow they can put out a freaking game every year. Don't freaking sometimes I still question that. It's because they literally, in some games cases, they literally have to spend hours working like every little bit of freaking data or freaking every little freaking asset. Even like how the thing I seen on YouTube for Halo Infinite is how they literally have like a million different sounds for like every little thing between the water, the grass, and everything that they have that's going to be programmed into that game. It's like Jesus Christ, you guys put this much work in every little thing in this game. No wonder it takes you so long to work on this game.
All right, I have
That's what every other
counterpoints.
game. That's why some games take longer to make.
I have
Sorry.
counterpoints for both of you. I'll start with Joseph before I forget it. So you mentioned, what did you mention? I already forgot it. I'll go back to Charles. So Charles, you mentioned how they are able to do it every year. It's because Activision is the publisher, but they have different developers do it every year. So yeah, Treyarch did Black Ops, whatever, Cold War this year, and Infinity War did Modern Warfare last year. Well, as soon as they released Modern Warfare and finished the DLCs, they've already started developing another game, and they have almost 2 years basically to start developing the next game, while Black Ops or Infinity or Treyarch, sorry, takes over the next year, and then the cycle kind of repeats itself. That's how they're able to. So really, they're taking 2 years to make a game. So that's kind of how it happens with that. And I completely forgot what Joseph said
It's
about.
okay because I didn't. So it was about immersion and how like you do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you brought up immersion, but we're also talking about Call of Duty. So if you take the typical Call of Duty gamer, they're not worried about immersion. I mean, these are the same sweaty, Cheeto eating slouch potatoes that were
I'm pointing down to Jordan,
that
by the way.
were playing Advanced Warfare, jumping through buildings in robot suits. You know what I mean?
I'll see you this Wednesday when you play Call of Duty.
Yeah, you're definitely touching on one of the key target markets there, but I also think one of the other target markets, which we brought up in previous episodes about Call of Duty, is also the casuals who they just they buy the systems, and in a lot of the cases they're drawn to games just because of the graphics. So
Yeah.
for them, they I don't know, they think that they're getting a cheapened experience if all of a sudden they see like there's no justification for it, and it just takes a little bit of creativity to justify why there's no assets. You just make it take place in a desert, right? And then there's just like spans of nothing.
There you go.
It is funny to think about how like developers had to deal with a lot of limitations earlier on. I still remember playing Guild Wars 1, and what they would have to do to make the game run somewhat smoothly is you would see a tree. The further away it was, the more likely it was just a 2D sprite. The player runs towards it, and then all of a sudden it takes on 3D shape. So there are things that they could do. I think some of it is just the luxury of, well, let's not make it a 2D asset. Let's not compress it whatsoever. We don't have to. We just okay, 80 gigs. We're just people expect it right now, and I think people are used to those games having high file sizes. So I don't know if I would say that's a goodwill, but it's like the pattern has been established for quite a while now.
Something that the old Far Cry games had, I believe it was Far Cry. If you've heard of this, correct me if I'm wrong. But they actually did this really cool thing. So when you're playing in a first person game, you have what's called FOV, field of vision.
Hmm.
And what the developers did was they would only load assets that were in your FOV. And as soon as they were out of your FOV, they were gone. As soon as they came back, they were there. And there's actually a really cool video on it. It's really cool. So basically, it shows you in the third person. It shows a guy looking up a hill. And it shows like he sees the grass and a tree. As soon as he starts turning, he sees like the grass from where he's looking, but the grass where he's no longer looking is gone. Like it's really interesting. But speaking of developers who may or may not be out of touch, or may not be speaking out of their buttholes, we have something interesting here. So, an unnamed source for the developers of Resident Evil have come out and made a bold claim. Now, before I continue, we've all seen either the trailer or whatever for Village, right? For Resident Evil Village coming out. Resident
Oh
Evil
yeah,
8.
big titty. Yeah.
Yeah, the big curvaceous vampire lady.
Mm-hmm.
With the freaking Wolverine claws.
Yeah.
I didn't pay attention to that. There was two big things
Yeah.
distracting me.
Yeah, thank you, Base Jordan, our local pervert.
He's
So,
the tucker of the group.
okay, so we're all on the same page there. We all know what we're talking about. Well,
Oh, breasts.
And then freaking Seth just comes
Right.
in.
Okay, there it is. I just had to put two and two together in my head.
we all love it when they put two together. Anyway, so what was that? Oh my goodness, this is a train wreck. All right, so the developers from Resident Evil Village have come out in public in a statement and said that Resident Evil Village will be the greatest survival horror game ever made.
Ooh, I thought they just said it's going to be the greatest Resident Evil game ever made.
No, they said
no,
it'd be
they
the
were going
greatest-
for gold.
They said the greatest horror survival game ever made.
Okay,
I'll have the
that-
mini videos ready.
That is a huge bar to set for yourself, especially when we've had problems over the past year with games who were overhyped and did not deliver. So my question to you, gents, is: are we looking at gold, or are we looking at Cyberpunk?
okay. First things first. Just making sure. Is Phasmophobia classified as a horror survivor game?
Yes.
If
Is
it's
Luigi's Mansion classified as survival horror?
Is the what?
Luigi's Mansion.
That's what I was gonna bring up.
yes, Luigi Mansion is classified as that because I remember searching it up last year. But if Phasmophobia counts as it, I don't know.
Yeah.
Resident Evil cannot
mean,
compete
Bob,
with those
considered-
numbers. So,
Well, I don't think
Okay,
they're
I
looking
mean,
at numbers. I don't think they're looking at numbers. I think they're talking strictly on their gameplay. I think they're so confident in themselves that their gameplays, they think that they have probably the best horror survival game. They're not. I mean, potentially they're going for best selling because that's what every game developer strives for.
mhm.
But they're looking. They look like they want to take home awards. They want to be part of the Skull Hunter Game Awards next year. That's what they want.
Coming soon.
I don't know
Yes.
if you're just saying that as a bit, but I sincerely hope that.
No. So we did our. Stop that. So we did our own review of the Game Awards. Well, this year, I'll probably start it out in November. Like start getting categories and stuff in November. But we will be having our own Game Awards
Oh yeah, I'm
Exciting.
down for that. I'm so down
brought to
for
you by the
that.
Skull Hunter Podcast, and we will be giving out awards. We will be giving out awards, and some of them are going to be traditional awards, and some of them are going to be awards with a little architect twist on them. So that is TBD. But also, what do you guys think? We've all seen the trailers. We all have seen the big breasts. What do you think this game has? What it takes? Do you think that they're trying to overhype themselves? Do you think they're trying to get the day one numbers through the roof? And then after that, they really don't care. They're just trying to get people to open the door. Basically, what's the strategy here? Because these are big words.
I have a question for everybody, which is, how big of a fan of the Resident Evil series are all y'all?
Big.
I have
Big?
played.
You got a big?
I love the genre of game.
Mhm.
I'm a horror survival fan. I think Resident Evil is up there when it comes in terms of doing it right. I think the newer, I think 5, 6. I think they were going more for first person shooter rather than survival horror. If I'm being honest, 7 was good. The DLC for 7 was fantastic. The one with the
Mhm.
family and your like that one,
Yep.
fantastic. That if it's anything like that, I think it has a chance to be good. But we'll have to see. But I would say I'm like in the middle when it comes to being a fan. I'm just a fan of the genre.
I like the movies more than the games mostly, but I do like watching people play the games.
Yeah, Resident Evil holds a pretty special place in my heart because it was the first time that a video game scared the daylights out of me. Full on like running. I was 26. Kidding. No, I was 8 years old at the time. My mom, she takes me along with her to go visit one of her friends, and so her kids are playing the original Resident Evil on the PlayStation. And wrong place, wrong time. I as soon as I walk in and ask him, well, what are they playing? And he said Resident Evil. It was the iconic image of the zombie tearing up that first
Yep.
Stars
Resident
victim,
Evil
turning
1.
over, looking at the screen. I ran screaming. I was so terrified. A couple of months go by. My mom goes to visit her again. I tag along again. And I come back and they're still playing Resident Evil. And this time it's like the end boss battle where Nemesis, like not Nemesis, the first, I guess Wesker,
Tyrant.
right? He transforms. Yeah, that's it. A Tyrant just running down the hallway, chasing after him. And I run back out of the room screaming again. That game just like embedded in my psyche. I love the original, once I worked up the nerve to play it. I especially love the remake that came out on the GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they market it as a survival horror, but I don't see it as a survival, maybe because I don't play it on hard. I treat it as more a horror adventure. It reminds me a lot of like those point and click adventure games where you get a bunch of like convoluted items and you have to figure out the convoluted puzzles, a lot of exploring, a lot of backtracking. And so I've always viewed like those earlier games as more like adventure games than survival horror games. Then you get to the 4, 5, you get 6, and those are more the horror action. That's like the horror action trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played 7. I should. And then you got the Resident Evil 2 with like the remake with Claire. I love that one. That one was just was excellent. We played like the first couple of hours of the Resident Evil Nemesis remake. So like I'm all over the place. I do try to get to as many of the Resident Evil games as I can. So with this one, I think it's a technicality. I think that what they're going to do is reinvent the survival horror genre and elevate it to a new height. I mean, there's a shopkeeper in there, right? Like last time there was a shopkeeper.
Yes, there's a shopkeeper.
Was Resident Evil 4, which was the horror action adventure saga. So I think it's going to be greatest because what they're going to do is they're going to show just how good the genre can be, and there's not going to be very many other things to compare to, considering what they're going to do with it. So I don't know. It's cause for celebration, right? I mean, what they're presenting is it's exciting. They're hyping it based off the experience, and it's a contained experience. I think we've all learned not to believe the hype for open world games anymore, because open world games are tantamount to errors and glitches and hilarity and all that stuff. So open world games have to redeem themselves. But yeah, they're just trying to get people excited about something.
It's like Outriders need to seriously get their crap together and not have server problems on the first day.
We're gonna talk about Outriders in a minute.
What's your feelings of Resident Evil?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I think that they can actually get away with saying this right now, because you guys remember. So I don't know the exact relationship between Hideo Kojima and Konami, what happened there, but they released a couple years ago on the PS4 exclusively. They released a PT, playable teaser, or playable trailer, whatever that stood for Silent Hills. Which that little demo was by far one of the scariest things I think many people have ever played. And that game had so much potential, and then it got canned because, like I said, something between Konami and Hideo Kojima, I don't know what happened there. But I think Resident Evil can now get away with that because, if I'm being honest, really only the one main contender they had against them was the Silent Hill series. Because say what you want about the movies, put that to the side, boom, non-factor. The games were really good. And I think the difference between the Silent Hill games and the Resident Evil games is that they didn't become action-adventure. They stuck true to the horror survival genre, which is what we need. We need a mix between the Silent Hills game we never got and like the Outlast mechanics. We need a cross between that at some point.
I think one of the challenges of like horror games in general is that it's just hard to maintain the scare factor throughout an entire experience. Yeah. Same thing it happens with movies too. So usually by the third act, whether it's in a game or in a movie, the characters have to start like taking initiative and trying to like push back against the evil in some way. So that's the hard part. I mean, most of the fright has to happen in the first act.
Yeah. If I'm being honest with movies or games, like, we're seeing too much where they rely on jump scares rather than psychological horror, and that's my favorite. Psychological horror, I think, is the best when it comes to that kind of stuff. But here's the thing, though. I also don't want to play as a quote unquote horror game, and then within the first 5 minutes, I have a handgun. Like, no offense, but 9 times out of 10, bullets win. So I'm like, that's just not scary to me. You know what I mean? Like, I think Amnesia. The Amnesia storyline is actually really good.
Oh yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the mechanics or anything, but I like the style of gameplay where you are a defenseless, weak little beta man, and you have to survive against all these monsters, stuff like that. I think that's cool.
Oh yeah.
And then the AI gets progressively smarter throughout the game. I think that's something we need. But for this game, sorry.
No, sorry, I didn't realize that Amnesia was I didn't realize that was the target market for it. Anyways, what I think is what I want to remark about like the original Resident Evil, because you do get a pistol, is that in video games, you know, the characters we play are always supposed to be heightened in some way, where they have a little bit more power than average. And what I liked about the Resident Evil characters is that it was a perfect balance between like an above average person. They're part of STARS, they're special tactics and rescue squad. They're like, they're well trained, but they're still way in over their heads. There's monsters roaming around. They have limited ammo. They don't really understand what's going on, and they can't escape, so they have to push forward. So, like, that's a balance that I've always appreciated, where you do play somebody who's capable, but is still clearly outgunned and outmatched.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like in that one scene in the second movie, I think, when there was like a bunch of police officers and SWAT. Not SWAT, STARS members that tried to form a line behind a bunch of police cars while a mob of zombies was coming at them. They were slowly just overrun. You see them wall the 3 main members as part of the still part of Umbrella running away while the others were getting, devoured by zombies and everything. And I remember the second movie is basically supposed to be like the movie version of Resident Evil Nemesis. And you guys probably know what scene I'm talking about, when all those dudes are getting overrun by the zombies and everything.
Yeah, well, they first introduce Carlos and stuff like that.
Yeah, and see all the zombies coming towards them, and all the guys that are coming down from helicopters, and it's like, do you guys not know how to aim for the head? It's the same thing with everything I see with zombies, except in like Walking Dead. It's like, and also Zombieland, but that's a different story. It's like, do you guys, and even in freaking Dawn of the Dead, that movie where it mostly takes place in the mall.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, do you guys literally have to spend like quarter of this freaking crap so you can try to figure out, hey, maybe we should shoot these guys in the head?
I love the idea of like Resident Evil, how they went for the idea of shoot them in the head. That was how you kill zombies, but you can't do it in the game. And even later on in the Resident Evil series, you got Resident Evil 6. That was when they tried to bring that back to, and then realized, oh, we can't do this, because if you could shoot everything in the head, you're going to walk right through the game. So then they eventually changed it. Just now you can get critical hits. I like how they never fixed any of that where shooting in the head works. But to kind of wrap back into the Resident Evil scene, I think it's possible. And I think the reason they're saying this is because as it goes for right now, the top played horror games, and I Google searched this, the top 5 is Alien, Outlast, Amnesia, Resident Evil 7, and Silent Hill, the original PlayStation Silent Hill from 1999.
You know something great about that list you just said? We literally talked about every single one of those games.
Everyone. I don't think we brought up Outlast. I don't think we brought that one up.
I brought it up. I brought it up right at the beginning of the thing.
Oh, okay.
I said that if we had a cross between Silent Hills and Outlast, we would.
Yeah. Okay. So perfect. It was brought up. So yeah, I mean the top played, and I think that's what Resident Evil is trying to like. They know how they did 7, so I think they're trying to follow along that same path of taking how the jump scares kind of went. And I do enjoy Resident Evil 7. For those of you who might be listening or watching this and haven't played it, pretty much is you're a defenseless guy that gets just kind of everything happens around him. I don't want to spoil too much of it, but yeah, you're pretty much back to that. You don't know what's going on. They do give you a gun, but honestly, you really don't use it that often.
The dinner table scene with the family,
Dude, that was so good.
amazing.
That was so good. Like
when
I
I
love
when
the
I
game.
saw that, I immediately was like, all right, this game's great. And I hope Resident Evil 8 takes what was good and puts it in this game. I
Me
hope
too.
I genuinely want this to be the best survival horror game there is. I really do. I'm rooting for them. One, because I think it's about time we've had an amazing game come out that everyone talks about, that everyone can agree is a great game.
Yeah.
And two, we're obviously not getting our Silent Hills game. So next best thing is Resident Evil.
Yeah. I wish Silent Hill.
I meant to mention that Resident Evil Village actually did have a playable thing where you played as a character. I forgot who the name of it was. It was just for like the demo, and whatever. You started off in like this creepy basement or whatever, and you had to solve puzzles and every way to eventually try to escape. But at the end of the demo, while you're about to escape, right before you escape, you run into the giant lady's daughters, and one bites your neck and somehow doesn't rip your jugular out. Then you run into the big lady herself, who freaking grabs you by the throat and freaking shanks you with her freaking claws.
Yeah,
Yep.
shake me, big shit lady.
Because I meant to mention that when you guys talked about the
It'd be
playable
really
demo.
weird if my wife came home as I was saying that. But yeah. So we got a little taste of it. We'll see what happens though.
Do you guys know why it's called Resident Evil and not Biohazard, like in Japan?
Oh, I forgot that it had a different name in Japan.
Um,
Why is it called?
Well, it's called. I forgot the reason. I know Resident Evil. They call it Biohazard in Japan.
Like that's like the actual name of the series. Like if you stop to think about how much actually takes place like in a residence, it's like 1/6 of the entire series. But if you think about the word biohazard, all of a sudden all of the underground experiments, Umbrella Corporation, the mutations, all of that suddenly makes the series make a lot more sense. It was called, they had to name it Resident Evil. It was like an internal contest with the developers because I think it was like a music band or a rock band.
Yeah.
They were called Biohazard, and so there was like licensing issues. So it's just, I don't know, it's interesting to think about like what would happen if I modded it where all of my games, all the games in the series were called Biohazard.
I don't think it has the same ring because like Resident Evil, like it rings with you. Like you remember, it's like that classic like Sony startup for the PlayStation. Like you always remember that. If you had Biohazard, it would sound too much
what
like.
I would have done is I would have done like subtitles. So the first one would be Biohazard, Resident Evil, and the second one would have been like Biohazard, City of Evil, because now it takes place in the city. And then, of course, you have Nemesis for the third one, so that's clear.
Yeah.
And then the fourth one would be like State of Evil, and then it keeps expanding, and then eventually you get like World of Evil,
And then
which
the
is
last one
Crap,
just say,
Nebula
"We
of
give
Evil."
up."
Galaxy of Evil.
You know, that's the thing I just thought about with PS2 series like Devil May Cry and Resident Evil. It seemed like in those old PS2 games that were made by Capcom, they always had that same thing. Like this weird voice would say the name of the game. It's like sometimes I just wonder what the heck was
Dino
Psychological.
Crisis.
It was a psychological play that they did. So if you
the thing is. Oh, sorry.
no,
I was just
you're
gonna-
good.
Devil May Cry was originally supposed to be a Resident Evil game, and then it became its own thing, and I freaking love Devil May Cry.
Yeah, they were
Mostly
supposed to
fine,
be two different things, and then Capcom separated it when they released an early kind of teaser in the Game Informer magazines, and people were like, this isn't Resident Evil, and they switched it immediately. But the reason they say those stuff is because it's a psychological thing, and if you hear something that sounds familiar, you're gonna sit there and remember that game off it. Like right now, I'm thinking of all the old Resident Evil games just because we were talking about it. And it's like the same thing with smell. It's all a psychological thing. If you remember playing Resident Evil, but you remember having Burger King get delivered to you, like at that time period, when you smell Burger King, you're gonna kind of remember that Resident Evil thing. So I think the reason they make all Capcom, every game you find at Capcom, they were constantly like saying the intro or whatever. It's the psychological side of it. And smart, real smart.
You know,
I swear it's only whenever I do one of these things with you guys, it's when people decided they just want to be noisy in my neighborhood.
Sounds about right.
you guys want to know what's another psychological play
What?
coming out coming out with a game and then not letting anyone play it.
Cyberpunk?
Call of Duty.
Close. I'm talking about. Go ahead, Charles. What am I talking about?
Outriders.
There we go. So Outriders released this week to large excitement. People were pretty excited for this game. I know Nvidia had a sale where if you bought a brand new Nvidia card, you got the game for free.
Mm-hmm.
But that's cool and all. But guess what? People tried playing it. Server kept crashing. Nobody was able to play it for the first day. They fixed some of the issues, but people are still temperamentally being able to get on or off of the game. I'm gonna be honest with you. I wasn't tracking this game. I know obviously Charles has played it. Have you played it yet, Joseph or Jordan?
No, it hasn't been on my radar at all.
All right.
I just been busy.
the biggest point I want to bring up about this is we see it all the time. Day one problems are just basically expected at this point.
Yep.
Because why beta test a game? That's for idiots. So
Even though they had a freaking playable demo.
So this game came out, and just like every other game that has a multiplayer, servers crash when people try to play day one. When at this point you can get a grasp of who's going to be playing, how many people are going to play in the game. You know what I mean? So, and if you beta test or have demos out, you should be able to track. Okay, the servers can hold this many people, or the server can hold this many packets coming in at a time, stuff like that. So why do you think that this is still an issue?
I think the reason it's an issue is because they, like the beta, for an example, they released the beta and it worked. I don't think they've done much more. I think they released the beta, seen that it's doing all right, and then released everything else. I don't think they did anything else. I think they just released the rest of the game. I don't think they were prepared for the overwhelming side of people versus all these other games that are releasing beta versions. I think I said beta for the Outriders, but I meant demo. But for all the ones that are releasing betas, they can obviously see how much people are coming on because the game is technicality, it's out, so people are trying to play it. But I think they just didn't prepare for it. I think they just sat there and looked at the numbers, going, okay, our service is pretty good. All this stuff opened up. Let's just release it day one. Let's just get it out there. And whatever issues come up, like little patches, we can fix along the way. And then servers crash. I think that's truly what happened. I think they could have prevented it if they would have done something. But this is all my opinions. I think that's what it was they just seen it work and went, it works. It just release it to the public.
I like playing with it. I just wish I had freaking people to play with it. Because yesterday, I was in the middle of doing a mission and I almost rage quit the damn thing because I was getting murdered because a bunch of these guys kept freaking Leroy Jenkins bum rushing me, and I'm one dude trying to freaking take out 30 freaking by myself, and it's like, will you guys just let me freaking have a break? Jesus Christ, I got 2 guns that aren't that great, freaking you guys all just bum rushing me at once.
They want that ace.
And I'm only level 13 for Christ's sake. By myself.
I can see the memes right now with little guy standing there surrounded by a bunch of people, and it's just Charles and Outriders. I can see it now. But do you think there's any? What do you think? The game crashed and all that though. Do you think it was just a massive rush of people?
I think it's just probably too many people on a server, too many packets being sent to wherever they're being hosted from, and I think that's generally just the issue. I think they're just not prepared, which is weird, but I guess if you don't beta test your games, you don't have an open beta for a month or two before the game comes out, you can't get a taste of how your service can hold up when you release the floodgates, and I think that could just be an issue. And I think that needs to be an issue that is just either open up your beta testing for more people or just exaggerate the amount of server space you need to host.
And it's not like streaming movies where movies all pretty much have the same format, more or less. Yeah. I mean, each individual game, even if they're running on the same engine, you have different assets, you have the way the levels are designed when enemies spawn in. So there's 100 different ways these things can go wrong. One issue that I notice, and I will like side with the developers on this, which is the way people expect to be able to access the content on release is, well, I have no grasp of how many people are also playing this. I'm in my room and I want to play this, or I'm in my living room and I want to play this. Versus like if a store hypothetically, if a store opens or if an establishment opens, and everybody has this visual understanding of where the supply and the demand is because there's a lineup outside and people understand, and there's a clear communication of this. If you go back to like the general public or the general gamers, even casual gamers, which can end up making the bulk of your game, of your game base, they just don't understand that. They don't understand. They don't. And I don't blame them for that. They expect to be able to buy a game, value proposition, and be able to play the game. So that's the unfortunate part, is that it's not. I don't think it would be feasible for a large scale release to do something like rolling out the access where 1,000 players are given access every hour or something like that, just to kind of like ease the player base into it. This reminds me of what happened when Diablo 3 came out. Diablo 3 was probably one of like the most hyped games of all time, and people took off entire weeks, probably just like 1 week really, to play the game. But for those first few days, nobody can get in because the demand was massive, and you get one group of people who understand, okay, well, the expectations were too high, but then you get the majority of people are like, oh, what the hell's going on here? I thought I was going to play a game. Well, what? Oh shit.
With Outriders, they had a demo that you could literally play up until the time it launched, and I'm pretty sure you could still probably play it to this day.
There is a difference between a demo and a beta, though. A beta is like just an actual. If I try to describe a beta, it's going to sound just like the definition of a demo. It's hard to describe. It's same, but different. I don't know if someone can help me out here.
Yeah, I mean, beta does give you access to most, if not all, the game for the purposes of testing. A demo is a sales proposition. It's to try to get people to buy the game so that they test a demo, or they get a taste of a curated part of the game. And in some cases, for instance, in Diablo 3, the demo ended up being like the best part of the game. Diablo 3 is great up until the Skeleton King. After that,
well, it's kind of game developers.
I love when you do this, because I have all the news articles open and I'm like, I wonder which one. I just put this little game in my head. I was just trying to guess which one.
Which one is he going to? I know. Yeah. Well, we're going to go to the Metacritic one. So, if you guys don't know, Metacritic has released their 2020 Game Developers of the Year, or their list of game developers. If you don't know, Metacritic, they're the ones who come out with the Metascore, which is basically the point scale out of 100 that they give each game. They're one of the more reputable sources for getting whether or not a game is actually good or bad. They're not as, how do I want to say it? They're not like Rotten Tomatoes. Is basically how I want to say it. Rotten Tomatoes is very corrupt. Kodiak, come on. Kodiak.
They're definitely more freaking believable than freaking Kotaku, but I don't think we're talking about that here.
But I'm going to run down the top 10. And I know you guys already looked at the news article, so you already know number 1, so we're not going to play that fun game. But I'm going to go down the top 10 and see if there's any big names that you guys are wondering why they're not there, or are not surprised they're not there. All right. Number 10 is Devolver Digital. They came out with games like Disc Room and Ruiner for the Switch. They're indie puzzle games. Number 9, Nintendo. They had 21 scored products that came out in 2020. 67% of them good, but only one game was great, and that was Animal Crossing New Horizons. It scored a 90 and over club. 90 and over, and the Metacritic score is what's considered a quote-unquote great game.
Okay.
Number 8 is a dev group called No More Robots. This is their first year actually being on the Metacritic scale. They did they did a lot of remakes for older titles. The most recent one they did is a Switch port of Hypnospace Outlaw. Number 7 was Axis Games. They do a lot of Japanese styles like JRPGs. They did their best game that they came out with this year was a visual novel, Code Realize, Guardian of Rebirth. Number 6 is Microsoft. The great games they had come out this year was Microsoft Flight Simulator and Ori and the Will of the Wisp. Number 5, Activision. 0 great games, but obviously they came out with games like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, the Crash Bandicoot 4, and Warzone,
Cold War.
Modern Warfare, Black Ops, Cold War, yeah. Number 4 is Sony. They came out with games like Last of Us Part 2 and Demon Souls. Ones that just barely missed the great marker were Spider-Man Miles Morales and Predator Hunting Grounds. Number 3 was Capcom. They had 0 great games, but the games that they came out with notable over the past year were Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, Iceborne expansion for Monster World Hunter, Resident Evil Resistance, and a remake of Resident Evil 3.
I'm glad that you mentioned Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition is because the whole being able to play as Virgil thing, which is I have yet been able to do because I've been able to get that game again. But his freaking theme was probably one of my favorite songs of all time, and if I wasn't afraid this freaking podcast would get a copyright strike, I would have played the song.
Well,
Number 2 was Annapurna Interactive. 0 great games, 15 scored products. They were all rated 100% good, but zero great games. They came out with a Switch adventure game, Florence, and that's the only notable one that they came out with. And number 1, Sega. Sega is this year's number 1 ranked Metacritic game developer. They were 18 last year. They came out with 38 scored products, 95% good. Great games include Yakuza 0 and Persona 5.
Nice to know that old dog is still kicking.
Yeah.
kind of shocking.
You know what's really interesting though? You know what game developers I didn't list?
Bungie.
A lot.
CD
Two.
Projekt Red.
What'd you say?
CD Projekt Red.
I don't think they're on the list.
They didn't
they
even
might be.
make it to the list.
But notable developers outside the notable developers outside the top 10 are Ubisoft at 14, Bethesda at 16, and outside the top 20 at 21, someone who seems to constantly be in the news that we talk about, Electronic Arts, EA. They're ranked 21. Quite a fall. They had none of the games in the top 10 had any bad games. They were all 0% bad games. Electronic Arts was ranked 21, had only 44% good titles, and 3% of them were bad. But right underneath them at 22 is another interesting one. Take-Two Interactive. Take-Two Interactive is the people behind 2K games like Borderlands and all that, and also Rockstar. They only had 40% good games, 0 great games. Their highest score was NBA 2K21. And we talked about their sports games. It's just, they're just repatterns of the old games.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. And now I want to hear your thoughts on this.
With Rockstar, I'm not surprised because freaking Red Dead Online freaking sucked.
Wasn't great. I'm not really surprised with a lot of the list, honestly. It was more shocking that Sega was number 1. But EA does not surprise me. Does not surprise me at all with their rankings. I actually expected them in the top 10. But yeah, I'm really not too surprised about this. Now, just to make sure, was this a community or was this one person?
No, this was from Metacritic, the company Metacritic.
Okay, So
They're the
wasn't
ones
their
behind
community doing all of it? It
No,
was okay.
they're the ones behind ranking all the games and all that. And what it was every game that developer came out with got a Metacritic score. They combined the scores and did an average, blah 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 blah, all that.
Okay.
So
And then
according to this, by the way, Team 17 is in 17th place.
Interesting.
I think that was on
cute.
purpose.
At Ubisoft, I could also see why they're so low is because freaking how many people are leaving that studio and because Anthem was a complete and total load. But that's,
Yeah. Well, Anthem would have fallen under EA, wouldn't it have?
Oh, wait, no, that's BioWare. Never mind. Forget what I just said.
Same. Doesn't matter. They all pretty poo-poo now.
They all suck.
EA freaking all the sports games just suck ass anyways, so.
I don't play sports games because I'm an adult.
You couldn't even say that with a straight face.
Dude, I started laughing at the word titties earlier, so I'm not gonna have a straight face for the rest of this podcast.
Oh guys, all-timer segment, all-time favorite.
Oh man. Guys, this is
that's-
episode like 21, I think.
What's 9 plus 10?
This.
21.
You stupid.
Somebody had to say it.
I miss Vine, dude. Vine is great.
I don't. I wish TikTok would really join it, but TikTok might be getting me some views here soon, so it can stay around just a little bit longer.
Yeah. Just wait till like the next iteration where now they take 3 seconds.
Yeah, it's no fair. TikTok's taking all the pedophiles and all the underage girls from the Minecraft community. This is unfair. Give the Minecraft content creators back their underage people.
Don't give Mini Lad any ideas.
Don't actually. You know what? I'm gonna take a controversial stance here.
Okay.
We don't like pedophiles on this podcast.
That's safe
We
to
are-
say.
We are against pedophilia. Now I understand that might be controversial, but we are against it.
Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. Or girl. Just don't be them. Don't be them.
All right, we have one last fun
Yes,
story.
yes,
They're
please.
gonna look me up. They're gonna look me up. So speaking of our favorite game developers that definitely don't ruin any of our favorite things like Skype or Edit Mixer. So if you don't know, the government, whom I used to work for and still kind of do now, we were in the search for AR headsets for the U.S. Navy. And guess who won the bid?
China.
Microsoft.
Oh my
Microsoft won the bid to give our U.S. soldiers AR headsets. Now, I don't know if they're going to be for training purposes. I don't know if it's to make the soldiers feel better about committing war crimes. I don't know.
Nothing to laugh at, but all right.
But like when they put it on, instead of seeing a child, they see like a grunt from Halo. Maybe that could be.
I'm starting to think that the Halo series is a blueprint for how they want the future to unfold. They got Cortana.
It wasn't.
They're working on
yeah.
Cortana. Yeah, it's like it's future proofed. Like it's predictive nonfiction.
It wasn't fiction. It was a map. There's a difference. But yeah, so that's interesting. One thing that I'm really interested in is like I really hope like the soldiers will put it on and it gives them like a HUD, like that's what I really want it to be. And like when like an ISIS guy comes out, it's an elite from Halo or something. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Okay.
Or what does Microsoft do now?
Just runs through a filter. Hello,
Okay, James, I need you to join the military and test these out for me.
I was in the Marines. I wouldn't have got these AR headsets, and also medically retired, so wouldn't be allowed to rejoin.
Go back.
I can't join the
need you to
military
go
because of my
back.
asthma. And I can't join the military because of my asthma.
I can't
So I'm
join
missing out
because I'm
basically things.
I'm a C word.
Jordan's like, I can't join because I'm a pussy.
Yes, that was what I was gonna say. No, it's like, I'm not gonna say that. No, it's like, I love the C word. I'll use that. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna.
Now, I bring this up one because it's kind of funny to think about, the government trying to get away with war crimes, but also, what HUD would you want to see if you were on a battlefield, like
Halo.
real life Halo? That's kind of where I was going.
It's just that dude, the Halo's hub is so clean, and I say this, and I guarantee everyone's gonna agree with the Halo, because even streamers, like a lot of streamers, would use Halo's HUD. They don't have to be playing Halo. They would sit there and put the Halo HUD outline on their webcam. Like people will do it.
There's only two correct answers, I believe, for this, and Joseph or Charles could correct me if they have a different option. But obviously, Halo is one, and then Minecraft is a close second.
I'm gonna go old school and do GoldenEye from the Nintendo 64.
Ooh, that is a good one. Just in the middle of a fight,
accurate.
Look at the watch and.
I'll stick with Halo so I can just blow me away from Drake and Benjamin while I'm shooting things.
You know what?
Charles,
I would vote
Charles
for the
already
Halo
has
one.
his war crime anthem.
I would vote for the Halo one, but I'd love to be able to run. Like if you sit there and try running, the HUD wouldn't know what to do. It'd be like, oh no, you're playing Call of Duty right now. No running, no running.
Maybe the Half-Life HUD. It shows your health bar and your battery life on the side there.
That could work. Yeah.
I'd also like either the Borderlands or Destiny HUDs.
I gotta know the original Doom HUD. I want to see my own face.
Just see your own face. Have someone punch you in the gut, and it's
I just see like my own bloody, like, but getting bloody doesn't lose the war.
I love it.
I now just want to sit there, and every time, like, it would take a lot of work, but hopefully in the future, whenever we're all playing CSGO or whatever, whenever someone dies, it just goes from this to...
Because you have to think, like, streamers, we put our faces on the screen anyways, so just move that into the middle and, get ready to, abuse yourself every time you speak.
Get ready to abuse yourself. Oh wait, I should have a black eye.
If you punch yourself and it hurts, are you weak or are you strong?
Ooh.
That's. You know what? You're punching yourself.
You can bruise
pretty.
One can bruise pretty easily though. Like some people can bruise easily.
That's just blood thinners.
Not if you eat your vegetables.
Like I don't.
Just kidding. I know that's not accurate at all.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not.
I was about
to
say. Eat them anyways. Like.
Yeah.
But okay, real fast. If we had the Minecraft HUD, let's go back for that for a second. If we had the Minecraft HUD, would they tell you everything in your pockets?
Yes.
Like, would it be right there? So it's like if you have like a Jolly Rancher and a condom in your pocket, is it gonna pop up in that little bar?
Wow, you're really prepared to fight, aren't you?
Well,
that's a whole new meaning to make love, not war.
I mean, you need to have a snack, and just in case if you somehow get with a native like an avatar.
Yeah.
You need a snack and a Jolly Rancher. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, that native was a snack, all right.
Now we're on the PG-13 part of the podcast.
Remind me not to plug my podcast this episode.
Hey, but where can?
Speaking of which, actually, that's actually perfect timing. We're now, what do we call it? The power strip, the power plug. The sellout.
The sellout.
Power.
The sellout.
Yeah.
The sell is what we started calling it.
Charles, tell us where we'll find you.
You can find me at my YouTube channel at CJ the Lone Wolf, where I just either do video game stuff, rants about stuff, and occasionally NASCAR diecast related stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Joseph, your turn. Where can we find you, or hear you, or look at you?
You can do all of those, but not all at once, at Ecom Onyx. That is ECOMONICS. That is the e-commerce podcast that I'm very proud to be a host of. Great show. Meet lots of great people, up to and including Jordan here. That's how we met. So really a life-changing experience that I'm very, very happy to be able to do. You can also go to giantenemycompany.com where you'll see somewhat of an amalgamation of what I'm up to. And I'm in the midst of setting up my own stream.
Also, if we're doing stream updates, when Jordan does his 24-hour stream,
Mm-hmm.
that will also be the debut of the Architect YouTube channel and streaming site.
Dude, that's what's up. And I guess I didn't really talk about it on stream. I talked about it off stream, but so I'm getting with a mental health charity right now, and so the goal is if I am able to hit 10,000 followers before the end of the or not 10,000, 1,000 followers on Facebook before the end of the year, I'm going to do a mental health stream to raise money, and it's going to be a 24-hour stream. We're going to more than likely do it on like a Saturday, so we can put the podcast in, we can sit there, have some fun,
A
have
live
some overnight.
podcast.
Dude, yeah, a live podcast. All this
If
button
we do it-
switching.
Listen, if we do it in December, the live podcast can also be the Skull Hunter Pod Awards.
Dude, that could work too. I hope it's not then. I really do. I hope it's like a couple months. Usually when I set a goal, my fans annihilate it. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm hoping so. But yeah,
Well,
we're going to be trying to work with charities.
We definitely. Well, you know what? I say we definitely do a live show. I think that'd be really cool. I
Yeah.
really, really want to do a live show. But yes, Jordan, you can find him at Facebook and YouTube at Skull Hunter Games. Get to his YouTube, like his crap.
Yeah, like it, boy.
You can also find him on Instagram, I think by the same name.
Yeah, I'm everywhere. Just
Yep.
just search me up, Skull Hunter Games. Find me there. Don't get to my personal Facebook. I won't add you. And then the podcast.
Yeah,
Where
and
can
then
they
you
find the
can-
podcast?
Well, first off, they can find me at Architect CSGO on Twitter. That's where I'm probably the most quote-unquote active. Also, like I said, when that 24-hour stream kicks off, I will also be streaming alongside him if it's on a Saturday. And I will be also have a video out on that time too. So it's really up to you guys when the Architect starts his YouTube channel. So just keep that in mind. Jordan, you're probably never going to reach that goal now. So but
Little
if you
faith.
like the show, or if you didn't like the show, keep it to yourself. If you did like it, be a friend, tell a friend. You can find it on YouTube and Facebook if you want to watch the stream. If you want to listen to it in audio land, you can get it on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast from. That's none of our business. And we want to thank our sponsor, Anchor, for sponsoring us and helping us with our podcast. Their information will be down below, and you also hear the plug at the beginning of the show. So thank you for that. Thank you guys for joining us today on this podcast, and thank you, the listeners, for listening to us, hopefully. And on that note, we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Logan Paul and Ty Dickey got none on AEW for life, motherfucker!
Anchor, you sponsored this?